Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Business Spotlight. I am Scott McMeans with Action Coach, and I'm here with Blake Babcock with Staffing Solutions Enterprises. And we're going to get a chance to learn about Blake's story. We're going to hear what he's done to make his organization so successful, and what is it that you can learn to build a better business. So, Blake, I'm going to turn the camera and the microphone over to you. Tell us your story. How did you get to where you are right now? Let people know who you are.
Yeah, Scott, first of all, thank you for taking the time to connect with me and giving me this opportunity to share. Really appreciate it. Like most folks in the staffing and recruiting industry, I did not seek it out. I fell into it. I think pretty much anybody that you ask would say that. I was doing an internship in marketing with the Cavs the second semester of my senior year of college. Had a sports management degree, wanted to work in the sports industry. Unfortunately, I graduated in June of 2008, which was not the right time to be looking
Mm.
for my first career, right? And the guy that I was living with at the time worked for a recruiting company, said, "Hey, you should interview." And I said, "I still don't understand what you do." Well, long story short, 16 years later, or however long it's been, here I am still in the staffing and recruiting industry.
Unreal. Most people don't like to stay doing something for 16 years that they love doing, let alone something they were confused at when they first started. So something has been really good to you within this industry. So walk me through what's been so good to you. Why is this industry
Yeah,
something you've stayed with?
believe me, I tried to leave many, many, many times. And I think what has made me stay now is I had advanced in my career and gotten higher level positions. I really sunk my teeth into more so the strategy and
Oh,
solving the root cause of clients' issues. And I think for me now, 5.5 years into my career with staffing solutions, really appreciate the organization's approach to relationships with clients and having services that extend far beyond just your traditional, hey, you need a temp, here's a temp. Hey, you need a direct hire, here's a direct hire. Now I'm able to take a deeper look at an organization's talent acquisition strategy, consult with them on that, dig a little bit deeper into what's actually going on to solve the problem versus just looking for a job order for our organization to fill.
interesting approach. Because most staffing organizations, from my experience, have been send as many resumes as we can send, get the timestamp in before anybody else's, and hopefully they'll hire somebody from that stack of resumes they sent over.
Yep.
So your solution or your approach is very different. Tell the audience, what is it about staffing solutions that is so much different?
I'll give you a perfect example. So just in the high level overview, our three uniques, our depth and breadth of experience. So the Suan, who is our CEO, has been with the organization for over 30 years. Kathleen, our controller, for over 30 years. Rachel, who's now our president, for over 12 years. Anne, who leads our temp staffing business unit, for over 20. Lizette, one of our recruiters, for 34 years, I think. It's not a place where people turn and burn, which is typical in the staffing and recruiting industry. So when I'm
Yeah.
talking to a potential new client, and I ask who they're currently using, and they say ABC company, I won't throw anybody under the bus.
Perfectly. I
I like the
appreciate that.
person that I was working with at this company. They're not there anymore. So now I'm looking for a new company to work with. And it's very easy for me to share myself, Rachel, Suan, and whoever else you work with on our team. I can all but guarantee they're going to be here in a year, 2 years, 3 years as we grow our partnership with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think the transparency that we provide to clients, where we're not going to hide behind bad news, our high level of communication and frequent touch points really differentiate ourselves. I always ask clients, the organizations, the third party firms you're working with right now, how often do you have update calls with them? And typically, what I hear is I hear from them when they have a resume to send, where we're talking to them on a weekly basis, giving updates that are actionable with data that, again, goes back to that transparency and communication. And then
Yeah.
thirdly, our highly customizable solution. So the story there is, and this happens quite frequently. I had a client call. They had an emergency where they needed to hire 50 people immediately. And so they
Wow.
said, we're just going to go with temps to start. Can you send us 50 temps today? And their hair's on fire. I'm like, okay, time out. Tell me the whole story. What are the roles that you need to fill? And what is the time frame for this? Are you eventually going to hire these people full time? Yes. Okay. If you had an internal team that could handle this, would you just do it internally? They said yes. I said, well, since this is a short term project, how about I place a contract recruiter on your team, that your recruiting team that reports to you, that can fill these roles? That way you're
Okay.
paying me for one person, not 50 people. And they were like, well, no other partners that we work with gave that option. I said, exactly, because they want to fill the 50 temp roles that you just gave them. And they didn't ask any other questions about solving the root cause of the problem. Root
Right.
cause of the problem is your capacity right now. Certainly that one person that we place is not going to be able to fill all 50 of those. We're going to have to talk about workload and expectations, but that's going to be able to offset a lot of that cost. And they were very much in favor of that. We placed a recruiter on that contract, and after 3 months, they said, we're hiring her. We love her. We have other work for her to do here. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
situations like that where we want to dig deeper into things and provide a solution that's going to solve the problem, not necessarily, hey, you have 50 job orders for me. I'm not asking any more questions. Let me just start sending resumes.
I'll tell you what's interesting about the example you just gave, Blake, they hired 51 people,
They did.
right?
They did.
Because they hired one person through you to build the team of 50 that they wanted for a long period of time. They needed your person to stay on to manage those 50 people and any other growth that they have. What a brilliant solution to a complicated problem. And the idea that you have this strategy of solving the root cause as a core competency is got to separate you from everybody else in the woodshed, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it's it's counterintuitive, right? Because as I talk to people about this, they're like, well, you're missing out on a ton of revenue. Maybe, maybe not. In the short term, probably, obviously, we're missing out on revenue,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we're building trust. And the number one way that we get new business is from referrals. So if I can solve a client's problem, they have a great experience. I'm just
Yeah.
trusting in the fact that they're going to tell 10 more people that they need to call me. And the compound effect of that will pay itself back tenfold.
That's a great philosophy. It really is, because most people want the shortcut hit. They want to get everything done right now. Lock, stock, the PO's done. Okay, moving on to the next. Now you've got a situation where you save somebody money. You gave them the better solution that they were expecting. How would they ever say anything negative about that experience?
Exactly.
Right? And statistics say they're probably going to tell 3 to 5 people how great their experience was. Right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty
And then
good.
we have another great case study that we can use. I use that story in my sales process all the time, even if it's not a solution that the
Yeah.
company I'm talking to needs. It just highlights that we're transparent and that we want to solve the root cause of the problem, and that we have flexibility beyond just sending you a temp or a direct hire candidate.
Yeah, I love the idea. The root cause piece is lost because it's kind of like a plumber fixing a pipe when the problem is further up the pipeline. Like you're fixing or putting a band-aid where it doesn't necessarily help the overall problem. Actually, different way of looking at it. You've been in a
And
leadership
that's
role. Go ahead.
that's human nature, right? We see the surface level and we think that we know what the problem is, but if you ask why 5 times and dig a little bit deeper, you get down to where the real issue is. And instead of slapping a band-aid on it, you can restructure
Yeah.
some things for the greater good.
One of the statements you said earlier I thought was pretty profound is how you approach a problem or approach a brand new opportunity is tell me the whole story, right? Because that's when you find out the need behind the need and the want behind the want, right? I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can to give you what you need, not necessarily what you thought you wanted. It's a really good approach.
100%.
It's a really good approach. Now, you've been in this leadership role for some time now. Not every leadership role comes with a smooth sail, right? But rough waters create seasoned sailors. What are some of the lessons that, like, you'd want to talk about that are the most profound in your career or the most significant as you've taken on leadership role here that people can resonate with?
Yeah, I think probably one of the biggest ones, and we were discussing this prior to going live on the podcast, is our journey within EOS. And EOS provides a framework of accountability. Not
Yeah.
everyone loves accountability.
Nope.
Accountability can have the optics of micromanagement. And one thing that Gene Roberts, our implementer, always says is this is not an I got you, it's an I see you. And throughout my career and having gone through this EOS journey, having that mindset of not, I got you, you messed this up, but I see you and let's solve this problem together, I think has
Yeah.
probably been one of the biggest areas of growth for me personally, and provides a better relationship between you and your staff, be it a direct report or not. And just being able to have a transparent conversation about this isn't a me versus you or us versus them. We have a problem. How are we going to solve it?
Yeah. The ability to have transparent, candid communication among adult professionals, you would think would be very easy to do, but sometimes you don't have a reciprocation on the other end. So it makes it really hard to have that conversation. The accountability piece is strong, and I 100% agree with you. What I would add to that is when you have the accountability, the authority, and autonomy placed upon you as an employee, you can accomplish anything. As long as you know the guardrails, as long as you know what my roles and responsibilities are, and this is what my contribution to the organization is supposed to be. Sure, thanks, boss. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do today. I'm going to go get it done. And I know if I make a mistake, you've got my back because I didn't do it on purpose. You gave me the authority and the autonomy to be out there doing it, but I'm accountable to myself and the company I represent. If you build those A's into that world, you're unstoppable, man. And that's what I
Yep.
think a lot of people need to recognize is being trustworthy as a leader isn't the expectation that everybody trusts you to do the right thing. Being trustworthy as a leader is trusting your employees to do the things you've empowered them to do. And if you can do that in an environment where everybody is collaborative and driving towards the same goal, you can't be stopped. Now, what's
Yeah.
interesting, I you've you've got experience doing this, so this is an interesting conversation, right? How many people, and no names, right? But how many people within organizations that you serve as clients don't get that, and you're trying to help them see that light, right? And it's right in front of them. All you have to, I'm trying to help you, and they don't see it. So some of those challenges you see with clients you have, how do you get over that? How do you push just enough for them to listen and not get upset with you because you're literally telling them, I'm going to help you despite your own efforts?
Not every relationship works out. And
Yeah.
I always share, we're qualifying you just as much as you're qualifying us,
Yeah.
because within the EOS framework, there are three things that are within the what EOS terms the ideal target market. It's the demographic, how many employees do they have, the geographic, where are they located, and the psychographic. Demographic and geographic are very easy to find out. You can Google
Yeah.
those things. How many employees do they have? Kind of tough to find out how much they're spending on organizations like ours with third parties. Geographic, it's right there on Google. Psychographic's the toughest one. And that comes out in the first conversation and then subsequent conversations. Are you willing to give me the information that I'm asking for? And I think a lot of it is just, I'm a storyteller. So as I'm asking these things and sharing stories like the one I did earlier, I think that helps to let their guard down where they start to feel, because I would never say, hey, I'm different than everybody else. That's the, I hear that all the time. I think I can show that. I know I show that through the different questions that I'm asking and stories that I share on our work with other clients. And I tell them why I'm asking the question. Here's typically what I see with an organization in your position. So that removes them almost from it and gives them a little bit of comfort in, hey, other people are going through this too. Because I think just as humans in general, we don't want to admit that we can't solve the problem that we have and that we have to outsource whatever it is, be it recruiting, be it IT, be it HR, whatever it might be. That admitting that, hey, I can't solve this on my own, that hurts a little bit, regardless of
Right.
where you fit in the organization. The ego gets in the way of, we can't do this all on our own. And I hear that a lot. We do all of our hiring internally. We've never outsourced anything. It's like, this conversation is not going to go very well then,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
and there are organizations that don't, and they do it very, very well. But it's, are you willing to have a conversation about a strategic approach to it, and are there opportunities to look at a different strategy than what you've currently been doing?
I think that's a really good way of thinking about it, because I was I always was told, if you're good at something, you should be paid for it. If you're not good at something, find somebody who is and pay him to do it for you, right? How many companies internally that are of a certain size are really good at recruiting? They're probably not, because that's not their core competency. So what is it that you guys have at Staffing Solutions as a target? What is your target organization?
100 or more employees,
Okay.
outsourcing 4 direct hires a year or more, or spending
Okay.
$100,000 a year or more in temp labor.
Okay. It's very
Geographic
specific.
based in, yeah, it is.
Very
in
specific.
that
No, and that's good.
in geographic being based in Northeast Ohio or Pittsburgh. So we made an acquisition in April of a recruiting
Oh,
firm in
nice.
Pittsburgh. And then that psychographic part is really important, that they value partnership over price. So what I would say related to what I just shared with you is, that is the EOS framework for our ideal target market, meaning our sales and marketing efforts are going to spend their time and energy and our marketing dollars pursuing organizations that fit that bucket. However, like as I mentioned earlier, 99% of our business is referrals. So
Hmm.
if an HR consultant that we work with calls and says, hey, I have a client, they have 20 employees, they need to hire their first HR person, can you help them? 100%. So if it is a referral
Okay.
from the outside, we're more so focused on what is that role, which is office professional. So accounting and finance, HR, sales and marketing, IT. That is where, when we get those referrals from the outside that are outside of our ideal target market, that yes, this role is within one of our recruiters' market masteries and we know we can fill it. But we didn't spend any time from the sales perspective or marketing dollars pursuing those small organizations that might have one opening. But if it comes to us, then 100% will help.
Sure, you have the capacity to help anybody, but your core competency, your target is 100 more employees. They outsource their direct hires and they spend about $100,000 a year on temps. Okay. Is there an industry that you love?
Industry that I love? No, they're all very different.
Okay.
Obviously, being, we have healthcare clients, we have service industry clients, we have retail clients, we have manufacturing clients. Everyone's got a unique story. I this is going to sound very generic and maybe cheesy. I just love business. Like I get really excited. Like, tell me your
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to the other, how did you start this company? Where are you going? What are you seeing in the market? How are you solving your problems? And you can learn a lot from those people. And so that's the cool part from my perspective. And what I get to do is learning from them on how they're solving their issues and how they're trying to grow and what business looks like for them.
Yeah, that's good though, because the more questions you ask, the bigger your book of information gets, right? You're asking
Yep.
questions to learn. And what I find so far in our conversation is, and again, you started it off with tell me the whole story. And then you have a bunch of questions you're asking. You're peeling back an onion to get to that root cause so you can provide the best solution for somebody based on what they need, not necessarily what they told you they wanted, right? I need or I want to hire 50 people in the next 30 days. Okay, whoa. Tell me the whole story. Okay, what they needed was somebody to coordinate getting 50 people as new employees over the course of 90 days into their house. Okay, that's a very different project than hiring 50 people. And you were able to find a better solution for them. So I think what I'm discovering is Staffing Solutions Enterprises does a pretty good job of digging into what a problem is perceived to be and finding out what it really is.
Yeah. And it's, another thing that you had mentioned earlier is, how many organizations that are doing all the hiring on their own, how effectively are they doing that?
Yeah.
If I get an introduction to a potential new client, they'll give me we've always done this internally on our own. And I ask the question, what does that mean? Because everyone's definition of recruiting is different.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, that answer is we posted the job on our website and we're interviewing the people that apply. And my first question is, how do people find your website? And you start
Mm-hmm.
to ask questions that they hadn't thought about before. You know
Yeah.
what? We don't get very many good candidates from that. And I ask, how long has this position been open? 7 months. How much is that costing you for that position to be open for 7 months? And then walk through our process and how we're proactively
Yeah.
soliciting passive candidates in the market and shortening that time to fill because their first thought is if I have to pay you a fee, that's costing me money. And my question is always, what is it
Yeah.
costing you to not have that position filled or to have
Oh,
that posting on Indeed for 7 months with no return whatsoever?
what's funny about that conversation is you've opened up a door for additional conversation or questioning, but at the end, what you're really trying to get them to realize is the amount of money you're wasting is nothing compared to the amount of money you could spend on me to just get this problem solved for you. And again, that's why I go back to if you're good at something, you should get paid for doing it. If you're not good at something, find somebody who is and pay them to do it for you. And I think a lot of people could recognize the cause and effect of how much money is going out the door in inefficiency and lost productivity or lost sales because you don't have a salesperson in a role, whatever the case may be. The company is losing money because they don't have somebody filled. And they normally think of it as, well, the position has been open for 7 months. We didn't have to pay anybody a salary. We didn't have it. Oh, we actually saving money over these 7 months.
Yeah.
No,
In
no, we
between the
can't do
Indeed
that.
posting and I had a potential client that it was an inside sales position open for 7 months. Indeed posting's been out there forever. I had asked, what are you spending on that? Are you boosting it? Are you paying every time someone applies and all these people that are not a fit are costing you money? And who's going into Indeed and interviewing these people? And they said the COO. I said, okay, timeout. You don't have to tell me, but you need to think about what is the salary of the COO of the organization?
Yeah.
How much time has he spent over the last 7 months rejecting people? Does he even know? Like, we need to have a conversation with him about what an inside salesperson looks like because this should not be that hard. And so
No.
there's a lot of question asking and almost you're not going to like this question. I get worried sometimes.
No, but see, people need to realize that their wheelhouse is their wheelhouse. And if they're not good at it, find somebody who is and let them help you do this. That's why businesses stall out. That's why businesses don't get the progress that they're looking for, because they're so interested in saving a dollar, but they're spending $10 to save that dollar. Hey, stop.
Absolutely.
Just stop. And that's where I like the idea of everything we've talked about so far is you're getting to the root cause. And sometimes the root cause isn't identified until you put a dollar figure to it. So every day you don't have that role filled, how much does it cost you? Every day you don't have that job filled, how much do you lose in opportunity? There's a different conversation than just, hey, let's get you somebody hired, right? Very different conversation. We've come to, wow, we've talked about a lot. I can't believe it's this time already. But I normally ask a lot of different questions. We've done a lot. This has been great. I normally like to ask this question and see how people react. So, Blake, if you were to jump into a time machine and go back to 18-year-old Blake sitting on a bench, you're going to sit down and talk to him. What would you say to 18-year-old yourself?
You're going to learn more from the people you meet and the books you read than anything else.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Okay. There is an amazing quote by Brad Sugars, who created Action Coach many, many years ago, and it's almost verbatim what you just said.
And
Where you will go in life and what you will have in life is all going to be dependent on the books you read and the people you meet. Choose wisely. It's awesome.
amen to
That's
that.
it's an amazing amazing way to think about life.
And there's maybe Stephen Covey, you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm always sharing with 18-year-old me's today that, people introduce me to their kids, or I used to do some mentoring for University of Akron students and DECA high school students. And
Yeah.
it was all read good books, meet people that are where you want to be,
Yeah.
and take notes, absorb that information, apply what you think makes sense to apply to your life, and you can forget the rest. I think that's the other thing too is, that when I share different books I read, people are like, oh, that book, just there's too much stuff in it I didn't like. I'm like, yeah, but there's some stuff that's good.
There's some good stuff in there.
You don't have to take everything to heart.
Well, you know what? That's what having a critical mindset and being open to new information gets you, right? If I read a book and there's 14 chapters and I only like 10 of those chapters, okay. I don't have to worry about the 4 I did not like, but I like those 10. I can absorb that into my world. That's a better place to be than saying, well, somebody told me they didn't like that book, so I'm not going to read it. Let's be a little bit open-minded and have some critical thought process. Like, this has been great. I really appreciate this. Learned a lot. And I think what I've learned most is tell me the story. Tell me your whole story. And what does that mean to you? Because that's where you're going to get to the root cause. And I think a lot of people that are listening can really benefit from understanding it's not about giving them what they want. It's finding out what they need and then giving them that. So thank you for this. This has been a great experience. I want to thank everybody. All the information you need to get in touch with Blake will be in the description down below. So click, connect, do whatever you can to find out how great Staffing Solutions Enterprises can take care of you. Thanks. We'll see you all on the next episode of the Business Spotlight.